Hello there, good morning. Welcome to another edition of Knocks to Nuggets. My name is Oluwayomi Ute, and it's such a joy to come your way this beautiful Monday morning. How has your weekend been? How did you find it? Hope it was not too stressful. The truth is, weekend is almost becoming like a working day now. There's so much to do. But please, no matter what you have to do, learn to take a rest. You need it. You need rest. It's not by accident that God put rest in the Bible. Let's rest. It's important. And today, this beautiful Monday morning, we are continuing our series on child abuse. So this entire month of April is that month we talk about child abuse. And we opened it up talking about sexual abuse. But last week, we decided to open up the lens and throw it out and say, what exactly is child abuse? It's not all about sexual abuse, it's much more. And last week, we had a guest in the house that made it clear to us that there are four basic types of abuse. There's a physical abuse, there's the emotional abuse, there's the neglect, and that caught my attention. That neglect is an abuse, and then sexual abuse, amongst others. Four critical types of abuse. And we discussed it at length last week, but today we are going on to talk about prevention. How do we even prevent it? So, with me today in the studio is again an advocate of child sexual gender based violence, child and family life advocate. She's an alumna of Lagos State, University of Lagos, sorry, where she had her first and second degree in economics. She holds a diploma in professional counseling from the Attitude Development International. She is passionate about the well-being of women and children and in protecting their rights. And she has done this for well over 15 years. She has several certifications, but she's very passionate about prevention and apt response to cases of child sexual abuse and domestic violence in Lagos State. She's currently the Lagos State Coordinator of Child Protection Network, an initiative of UNICEF. She belongs to several professional bodies, and today she's coming to talk to us about how do we prevent child abuse. Ladies and gentlemen, receive with me the Executive Coordinator of Bimbo Jukoya Foundation, no other person than Ronke Oyelakin. Hey, good to have you. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm happy to be here again.
Thank you so much for being here. So I'm going to ask, we talked a whole lot about child abuse, and you really did educate us about child abuse. It's not just about sexual abuse. That's what everybody talks about, sexual, but it's much more. We are physical. We have neglect. I know that caught my attention, that neglect is a form of abuse. And then, of course, the sexual abuse we all talk about. Do we have statistics to back up this thing? Or is it just that we are thinking that it is in need?
Yeah, we have statistics, and violence against children affects all children, regardless of age, gender, even their ability or race. And it affects children living in family based care. And also, globally, it has shown that up to 1 billion children are affected by violence. Up to 1 billion children are affected by violence across Africa in the year. Every year, that means at least 50% of children between ages 2 and 17 somehow would have experienced a form of violence. And that is
Wow.
to tell us that all over the world in Africa, we are having up to 50% of children being exposed or being abused at one point or the other. Also, we have the End Violence Against Children statistics, and it says that children between the age of 2 to 17 would have experienced at least one form of abuse, and that let me even start with the girl. They said 1 in every 4 girls. That means if you have 4 girls together, 1 out of them would have experienced a form of sexual abuse. And 1 in 10 boys. If you put 10 boys together, that means 1 out of 10 would have experienced this form of abuse. This is to tell us that the risk is high and that we all have one thing or the other to ensure to do that this abuse of children stop in our state, in our country. And despite the overwhelming evidence of this prevalence of gender-based violence against children and adolescents, it is very important that all of us have to put our hands on deck to ensure that we prevent it from happening. Because, like I mentioned the last week, that intervention is very expensive.
Hmm.
Prevention is cheaper and is the best option. He said prevention is better than cure, which we all
True.
know that it's better we don't allow it to happen, because
Hmm.
the trauma a child will go through of being abused at a particular age will affect his or her adulthood.
Hmm. Wow. 10% of boys, 25% of girls. People, that is huge. And what she said last just catches it. Prevention is better than cure. It's cheaper. Let's not raise children that will battle with the after effect of abuse all their lives. Let's prevent it. So, how do we prevent child abuse?
It all starts with you and I. To prevent child abuse, I must ask you, every child that comes your way, have you in any way, whether any of the type of abuse you have experienced, you have done it actually to a child? Because it all begins with us. If we all, as adults, say to ourselves that every child that comes in contact with us, we will ensure that we protect such child from any form of abuse. That means we do not allow neglect, we do not allow physical violence. If a child does something that we do not like and the child has done something wrong, you will correct in a better way. So for me, to prevent abuse, it all begins with us. It starts with us. We need to be aware that this is an abuse. Because if you do not know a thing, but when the purpose of
Yes.
a thing is not known, abuse is
Yes.
inevitable. So when you don't know, you will abuse. So the first thing to do is to ensure you know. You must be
Mm.
informed. And that is one of the things we are doing as advocates to increase awareness, to let people know that these are abuse. If you do this, if you see anyone doing this, is a type of abuse, and you have to speak up. So if we can get that done, that's another way to start preventing abuse from happening. Then parents also have work to do, because most times parents, in their own ignorance, they think they are trying to correct their children, but they're actually abusing them. So parents also needs to read more. They need to go to learn more how best to parent a child. Because if you're parenting a child, some are authoritative parents, some are permissive. There are different types of parenting. So some parents, if they understand that this style of parenting is not going to help me in any way, it's going to even cause more damage to my child, then I have to. Then another way to prevent abuse is for every one of us to put systems in place. And that's for the government, from the agencies and the ministries. And thank God for Lagos State, we have the systems in place. We have places where you can actually report, because and there are laws and policies are in place. Imagine if there are no laws and there are no policies. Nobody would, they would do it and go scot-free. But because there are laws and policies, we need to also let people know, sensitize them about those laws and policies, that this is what you're going to get if you do. For example, now, if you share child pornography, everybody, at least to some extent, about 30% or 40% of Lagosians now know that is a criminal offense. That if you
Mm.
share child pornography, you are going to get how many years imprisonment? 14 years. So that is a law, that is what everybody should be aware of. And also, if you rape a child, if you defile a child, it's life imprisonment. So these are the ways we can actually prevent it from happening, when people know that if I do this, I'll get this punishment. And also, another way to prevent abuse is to let the child, because I'm looking at stakeholders all across now,
Yeah.
the child also
Yeah.
has to be informed. Imagine if you have never told a child that her body belongs to her body belongs to him, or your body belongs to you as a child. And you're supposed to, you also have your responsibility to ensure that nobody touches any part of your body. If that child does
Mm.
not know, the child might allow some things to happen, and it would have long gone before you realize that that child has been abused.
Mm.
So it's also very important to let the child be aware, and that comes to the roles of parents and teachers, because most of the time the children spend, the productive hours are spent in schools. So we are looking at ethics, moral values that could be put in place in schools for children to have this information while at school, and while at home. The parent is also working back end to improve, to promote, to ensure that what they learned in school continues. So it's two-way. if your parent is doing so much at home and the child goes to school and meets with other children and the core values or whatever they are practicing in that school does not correspond to what you have taught that child at home, peer influence and the rest will stop all that you have taught that child. They will contend with it. But imagine if what you taught that child at home corroborates with what they are teaching in school about moral values, respect, love, you don't no to violence, no to bullying, that kind of thing. And I forgot to also add that bullying is another type of abuse now that is so much common amongst our children. Bullying is a very high common type of abuse now, and that has caused a lot of child and children. So for me, it's also very important that the children has to be involved in this prevention strategy. Then the society, the society we live in. Before now, we used to hear when I was, at least I'm still a child, but growing up, I got to I got to hear that it's the whole society that takes care and raise a child. Is it true anymore? Is it obtainable
No.
in this age? In this age,
No.
in this society we have now, does it happen? I'm
Mm-mm.
sure in your own days,
Mm-mm.
maybe it was obtainable, but now in my own days, no society. Who are the people that is going to help you? Which community is going to help you raise a child? Is
Mm.
it the community that when you enter the house, nobody knows what is happening? But we are trying to
Mm.
change that narrative. We are trying to change that narrative that even our safeguarding policy of Lagos State, there's a law, there's a policy that was done in Lagos State. This is the safeguarding policy of Lagos State. And it says that every one of us, we are all mandated reporters. If
Mm.
you in your house, though you are no longer saying that in the olden days, we all raise the child, community, we are the ones, if a child is doing something wrong, they would have beaten that child from the road before the child gets home. And they
Yeah.
will go and, in fact, the child cannot go and report and say, Mommy, somebody beats me, this woman beats me, this, because they know that they've corrected you. But in this day and age, we don't beat, we only correct. But this policy says that every child that you come in contact with, whether in church, at any institution or gathering, whether at the playground, whether in the mosque, anywhere you find children, and a child is abused, and you are there, you witnessed it, you heard with your ears, you saw with your eyes, you should be a mandated reporter. That you're supposed to report.
Wow.
So if you fail to report, that's another years of imprisonment. You'll be charged.
Huh?
Yes. For example, if a child is always crying beside your house, and you don't know why that child is always crying, and you do not find out to know what happened to that child. And one day we got to know and we came to rescue that child. All the neighbors in that place, we will ask the question. We will ask the question
Wow.
because you are supposed to have reported. Or if you see a child that usually have marks on her body, or a child is starving, and you all left that child in that community, and that child is your neighbor, you should report. Or you know that somebody raped a child and you decide to keep quiet. This law says, this policy says you are a mandated reporter, and if you fail to report, you'll be charged to court. And you also face the law. So looking at it at both angles, the society, the government, because looking at the processes in courts, the adjournments. I have a young girl now that told me that she's tired of going to court. Her case has been on for over 5 years. It's a case of defilement. And she said, Auntie, when will all of this thing end? When will all of this thing end? I want to move on with my life. So imagine long court adjournment. Thank God they're doing well in Lagos State now, because if you take any case now, between 2 weeks, you get the DPP's advice. DPP's advice straight to Second Offences Court, that's the High Court, and they give judgments. That is fast now. But before now, about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, we still have cases pending. We have cases pending. So imagine if the government did not put those measures in place to ensure that people get justice, children get justice. Justice delayed, we say justice denied, because the child is already getting tired. So it's very key for us to know that the government also have a part to play. The child in question, children have their own part to play. Parents have a lot to do when it comes to prevention. And the media, lest I forget,
Mm.
the media,
Mm.
they have a role to play. Imagine
Mm.
news that comes up now. Everybody wants to carry the news, and they don't even care whether the face of the child is shown or not.
Exactly. Exactly.
They don't care because they want to sell their news. And we are saying that even they start charging them, the earlier they should charge all the bloggers.
True. True.
They should charge the
True.
bloggers, everyone that posts the child's face. Imagine a child that was physically abused and they put the picture everywhere. When that child grows up, what happens?
What happens? And internet
You didn't
never
protect
forgive.
our identity. Yes, this law also says, this policy also says that you should protect the identity.
Wow. Internet really never forgives in these matters. While we're waiting for okay, she's back. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's very key. The media has a role to play to ensure in prevention. And lest I forget, the religious institutions.
Mm.
Many people can die and run with what their pastor says. Ah, my pastor said it. I must do it. My pastor has spoken. They don't even want to
True.
listen to God directly. They want, once their pastor has spoken, that's the final thing. So the religious institution also has a great role to play to ensure that they preach this thing on the pulpits. They don't cover it up. They don't
Mm.
cover it up. Imagine if imams are also talking about it. Pastors are talking about it on the pulpits. People are hearing from the pulpits. It also shows that we are all together, coming together as one body to ensure that we nip this thing and stop anything called gender-based violence in our states.
Mm.
Traditional rulers in their communities, they also have a role to play. In
Mm.
fact, every one of us, child protection, like I usually say, is everybody's business. To ensure safety, to ensure a safe environment, to ensure protection of children, to ensure safeguarding of children, it is everybody's responsibility. I've seen myself going on the road and I parked and I asked this young boy, what are you doing here? Why are you not in school? My mommy is out, my daddy is out. I'm the only one at home. Why do you stay? We have done that several times. We have to, oh yeah, let's go there. We have
Mm.
rescued a lot of children and there are still many more out there. So what are we doing? Are we asking questions? Are we seeing anything? Are we saying anything? Are we doing anything to ensure that children are protected and safe?
Hmm. Are we saying anything? Are we doing anything to ensure that children are protected and safe? Wow, Ronke, you tried to throw it on everybody. So it's all of us. There's nobody exempted. Every single person is a part of child protection, and we all owe them a duty. And like Auntie Binta said, wow, if you don't talk, you are culpable. I didn't know that.
Yes.
So now you cannot mind your business anymore. Children's business is everybody's business. And it's so interesting that the things that we ignored in times past are the things that are now coming to us and staring us in the face. But you said while you were talking, you talked about this role of the schools. Now, there's a question Gilbert asked here, which is instructive. It says, has parenting been abdicated to schools, teachers, and churches?
It's a, like I said, it's a two-way thing. It's children, they spend their productive hours, they spend most of their hours. Imagine my children have gone to school. They're going to be in school from 8 to 2, at times 3. And some children even stayed longer than that,
Yeah,
4.
some to 5.
So what happens while they're in school?
Mm.
They meet other friends, they talk, they interface with other children, they are socializing. They're going to meet teachers. Some teachers also have their own personal problems, which they can lash out on the children. Some
Mm.
shout at them, some say a lot of things and say, you're not even good in mathematics, you're just good for nothing. Some teachers don't even know that they're supposed to also protect children. They just say it the way it is. That's what I'm saying, that the schools also have their role to play. Does the school have a child protection policy that
Hmm.
every teacher has to sign? Everyone that handles children in that school signs. And when they sign that policy, it's saying that as long as you are in this school, you are to protect and safeguard children from any form of abuse,
Hmm.
and that you're going to discharge your duty in best practices to the best interest of the children in your custody. So we're not transferring the role of parents to schools, but we are saying that the school has a big part to play while they are also with them. For instance, I can't put my child in school or my children in school and you tell me he or she had a wound and I'm wondering why is my child bleeding. You're telling me you don't know that the child was sitting down before you knew it was started bleeding. You can't tell me that. You need to explain. I need to know what happened because it's supposed to be guiding, protecting them to ensure that they are safe. For me, that's violence in the school. How did the child get hurt? So at home, we also expect that parenting start from the home. I've mentioned that because the first place is the family. The first place the child socializes is the family. So the values that child is taking from home takes to school.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's whether the school adds to it or subtracts or remove entirely and put their own. So by the time the school is doing their own and the child comes home, so that the child will be living double life. When you're in school, you behave well
Yeah, one.
because you know this is what is obtainable. This is what we do in this school. But when you get home, if the parents are just on their own, they leave the child too, or the children to do whatever they like. But it's a matter of time. Time will tell. If the child goes to school and behave well to some extent, it will still show at some point that what they are teaching in school is not corroborating what you are teaching at home.
Hmm.
So if you're instilling the right values, both parents and the school has a lot of work to do. And that's why we do moral, I think we used to call it one subject there,
Moral
social
education,
studies.
social
But
studies.
yes, we do all of those things in school for us to know of our environment and how to relate with others.
Hmm. There's something you said now and just struck a chord in me that if you don't align your values and the values of the school, your child can actually become double faced. Is one thing in
Yes,
school acceptable in school? Is one thing at home acceptable at home? And Binta says, when I agree that the school is very important, in my view, most of the work should be done at home. Train up a child in
yes,
the way that it should go. Everyone has their role to play. And that is very true. And that
absolutely.
is why the choice of school your child goes matter. Today, we have
True.
people who are sending children to school just because they want to have a social connection. Or, like I was talking with my husband yesterday, I said the choice of school has become a matter of social status. What school does your child go? What school does my child go? So which school is better? Which school pays more? Which we are forgetting the reason why those children go to school and why their school and their home values must align. Someday on Knox to Nuggets, we'll talk about how to choose the right school for your child. But it's becoming critical that before the
It's
child
very
goes to a
important.
particular school, you must have an idea of the value system of that school, and it's very important. Ronka, you said a whole lot on this, on prevention, and that prevention actually begins with us. Before I allow you to say your final words, I want to ask you, advocacy, how big is it? Is it something that's catching up, or is it something that we need to begin to educate each other about? Because I know that because of recent events, everybody's talking about child abuse, child abuse, child abuse. But are we actually big on it, or are we seasonal?
Actually, if you look at advocacies, we've been actually carrying out advocacy and we're still carrying out advocacy. But the law enforcement agencies, the people that matters, the stakeholders that are supposed to actually enforce this law, we have a big problem with them.
Mm,
We have a big problem with them. So when we carry out advocacies, we look at policymakers, we look at people that matters, that can shake and that can ensure that what we are clamoring for when it comes to the rights of children, protection of children, safety of children, they can actually push the agenda forward. Look at all the policies and the laws we have in Lagos State.
mm,
Yet, we're still having all of these things. So what is going on? It shows that it's the implementation that is the problem. It's the enforcement that is the problem. So we are doing a lot of advocacy, and maybe it's not enough. When we have new administration, we allow them, we visit them, we do all of the necessary things. When the new administration comes, we do the necessary things. And the people in the ministries, we have gone over and over. Imagine now in Lagos State, we have a new CP, Commissioner of Police. Of course, we're going to pay advocacy visit to him. And as long as we begin to have different people coming on board, the lawmakers will definitely still pay advocacy visits to the balanced traditional rulers, the obas. We do a lot of that. But in all of this, the advocacies are good, but when there are no implementation, when the system that's supposed to help to ensure that the people that actually fought these offenses or they actually fought in these issues, they face the law. If they cut sides, what happens? What happens? So
True.
that's the aspect that we are seeing that we need to really do more. We need to really do more. That when it comes to children speaking up, adults speaking up, domestic violence, when they want to get justice, if the police, for example, there's a case we're handling now, I need to sort out with the Lagos State Police Command, and I was told that the child, they can't find the medical report. I said, I don't understand. And without medical reports, you can't go to court. No evidence. And I wondered, the police officer, the IPO called me yesterday. He called me on Saturday. I said, Oga, I will be on top of that matter. I said, how will you tell me that there's no medical reports? And when the IPO in charge, how did that happen? And you're telling me that the child has gone with another relative? Without the child, there's no testimony now. There's no case. So for me, it goes a long way. When we marry advocacy with actions and we see results, then we have done well. But when we do advocacy, we do all of those things, no results. It's really disheartening. A child has been
Wow.
raped by a stepfather, and you're telling there's no medical report. Whereas the case came to you, you saw the child at the same state command, and the child is closer to Mirabel Center. Let's talk to ourselves. Honestly, the enforcement agencies are the ones that frustrate the work that we do.
Wow. Wow. We must marry advocacy with actions. And it's so true. All of us have a part to play. It's every single person, everybody, whether you are a parent or not, doesn't matter. Every single person has a part to play in child protection. Ronke, your final words.
Okay, my final word is that please don't let it be until it comes to your child. Don't wait till it's your turn. If you see someone else's child, do not turn your face away. That is not my child. I don't care. Just for a second, what if that Christian girl is yours or the boys are your child or your child? So please, child protection is everybody's business. And raising a total child, a wholesome child, is the responsibility, firstly, the parents, the school, the institutions, and the society, even the government. It is our collective responsibility. And please, let us put all that we can to ensure that this generation, these our children, they have a beautiful childhood, not childhood that is already influenced by one abuse or the other or stained. Let them have a beautiful and free childhood that they can remember in future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ronke. Thank you so much. You've really enlightened, you've educated us, you've challenged us, and we truly do appreciate you. Thank you so much. And like I will always say on Knocks to Nuggets, we will come again. And when we come, please keep your doors open because it's so much work we all need to do. And like I will say, it's together that we win. So get ready. I'm coming back to you soon. Thank you so much, Ronke, for your time. Thank you for the knowledge you have impacted us. We are so grateful. God bless you. Have a glorious week ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Wow. That was awesome. That is so much to chew. A big thank you to every single person that's on this call. Every one of you, you made it. You made it happen. I'm so grateful. Thank you for being on the call. If I had the show and you didn't turn up, it would have been one boring piece. Thank you. But we all have a duty, and that is to educate our people, to educate our friends, our family, everyone around us. We are all involved in advocacy. We must spread the word. We must protect our children. It's the children's right to have a beautiful childhood, and we can make it happen for them. So thank you every single person on this call. I truly appreciate you. And for those that will watch thereafter, thank you so much. And like I always say, like the video, share it, keep the comments coming. And next week Monday, indeed the month of May, we're talking to children at different levels. So starting off next week, I'm excited. I have some children coming into the studio to talk to us. What are they expecting from us? So we've talked to parents, we've talked to teachers, but now let the children come up and talk about what do they want. And next week, Monday, I have some children coming into the studio to talk about what children expect from parents, what they expect from us, the adults. And I'm sure you don't want to miss it. Thank you so much for being with me on this call. I don't take it for granted. And like I always say, whatever you can think, you can be, and you can do. Spread the word about Nugs to Nuggets. Educate your friends and your community, and never ever forget it. Together we win. God bless you. Have a beautiful week ahead. Love you all. God bless you. Thank you. Bye for now.